If you want to see subtitles on the YouTube recording of this class, click the settings icon on the bottom right corner. Then click Subtitles, English Auto-Generated, click Subtitles again, then Auto-Translate, and select your language.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren. I'm here inside the Essex kitchen at the historic Essex Market, and this is our Fresh Bites at Home series. Today we're going to be making a perfect fall recipe. We're going to make some pumpkin oat pancakes. So I'm going to walk you through the ingredients, how I make the pancakes, and then we're going to move over to our stovetop to cook them off. So if you've attended our classes before, you know when I'm doing any type of baking activity, it's always about the wet and the dry ingredients. So let's go ahead and start with our dry ingredients. They're pretty straightforward. So we're going to use 1 cup of flour. I'm using just regular all-purpose flour today, but if you wanted to go the extra mile, you could use some whole wheat flour as well. And then we're going to do half a cup of rolled oats. So not quick cooking oats, but the old-fashioned rolled oats. And what's good about these is they're going to add some whole grain, some fiber to our recipe right here. And now in this little bowl, I have 1½ teaspoon each of baking powder and cinnamon. So the baking powder is going to help our pumpkins rise, and the cinnamon is going to give it kind of that fall flavor. You could also add a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, which has the added benefit of cloves and nutmeg, and that just will kind of give your pumpkin pancakes that more pumpkin-y pie flavor. So I'm just whisking all of our dry ingredients together till they're nicely mixed, and then we can put those to the side. And now let's go right into our wet ingredients. So I like to grab a new bowl, and the first thing I do is whisk the eggs. So I have 2 eggs right here. We're just going to crack them and get them right into the bowl. Okay. And now we'll give them a gentle whisk just until they're slightly scrambled. Now I'll go ahead and add our milk. I have some reduced fat 1% milk here, but really any milk you have on hand would be fine. This is 3/4 of a cup of milk. So we'll just combine that with our eggs. And now we have our pumpkin puree. So I'm using pumpkin puree from the can, but also if you have any type of winter squash at home, you can peel it, boil it, or roast it, and then just kind of create your own mash, and that would be a perfect homemade addition to this recipe as well. And I've used lots of different squashes in this recipe, and potatoes for that matter. So I've done pumpkin, I've done butternut, I've done sweet potato puree. Really any of those will work. Because in all honesty, pumpkin has some of its own flavor, but I think what makes most of us think of the flavors of pumpkin are those spices, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. So as long as you have those flavors going on here, it doesn't matter so much whether it's a pumpkin or a sweet potato. All right. And then for a little bit of sweetness, I like to add about a tablespoon of maple syrup. You can add more or less depending on what people in your household like. But I usually start with just the tablespoon, and then folks can add their own maple syrup on top of the pancakes. Easy as that. So now that we have our wet and dry ingredients all set, I'm gonna switch out my whisk for one of our rubber spatulas. And before I mix these 2 things together, I'm just gonna hop over to my stovetop and get my pan warm. Okay, so I'm gonna be using a cast iron stovetop today. So I just, that takes a little bit more time to heat up than your regular frying pan. So I wanna make sure that's ready for us to get going. So I pour my wet ingredients into my dry ingredients. It doesn't really matter for pancakes which one you do first. And now I'm just gently mixing it around with that rubber spatula until the dry ingredients have absorbed everything. And at this point, it would be a great opportunity if you want to add any mix-ins. Some pecans, some roasted and chopped pecans would be really nice. Some dried cranberries, chocolate chips, of course. So our oats are gonna absorb and expand from that liquid, and they're gonna get a little tender as well. So I have this beautiful griddle pan. It's a Lodge cast iron, and so it just sits really nicely on top of two of my burners. But you could do this in a fry pan, you could do this in a regular cast iron. This is just a nice thing that we have here at the kitchen. So this is a fresh bite, but I don't shy away from the butter when I'm making pancakes because it's really what gives it its golden exterior. So I'm gonna put 2 decent nubs there, and I'm just gonna move it all around my griddle pan. And we just wanna coat it with this butter. And there's not really any fat in our pancakes as is. And then I don't tend to add any additional butter on top of my pancakes, so I wouldn't worry too much about this butter here. If you want to use olive oil, it works fine. Okay, so our butter is nice and melted. I have a 1/4 cup measurement here, or a ladle would be fine, but I just find it easy to use this. So I'm gonna drop that down. And the rule of thumb with pancakes is low and slow. So it's really tempting to turn that heat up high, but I find that the exterior will brown and basically burn faster than the interior of the pancake will cook. And that's not a good combination. So we keep the heat down pretty low, and we just sort of let them do their thing. And then the question is, how do you know when they're ready to flip? So what we want to look for, the telltale sign, which I can already see going on a little bit, is some bubbles on the top of our pancake batter. So what's happening is they're being heated from the bottom up. That heat is coming through the pancakes, and any air that was in our batter is now coming up through the top, kind of like water boiling. You can think of something similar. So we want to be looking for those signs, and then we need our edges to be set. So they're going to look more cooked than the interior of our pancake. And when we see both of those things happening, that's how we know it's time to flip them. These are something that works really well to make a big batch of them, and then you can keep them in the fridge. You can even wrap them individually and keep them in the freezer, and then just pop them either in the microwave or the toaster, and they're good all week long. I'm gonna go for it. Woo! Ooh, yeah, it was right. So I see a nice golden bottom. It's got some golden crust going on too. Looks really beautiful. Nice. Looks good, guys. So these are a great alternative. They're really fun for fall because of all of our flavors, and they're good for us too. Has that whole grain from our oats that are in there, and they cook up just like beautiful pancakes. It'll be really fun for people who have young kids at home. So you can find the recipe for these pancakes and all of the recipes that we do here at Fresh Bites on our website, essexmarket.nyc/freshbites. We do the class live every Thursday at 12 p.m. so you can join us on Zoom. And we post all of our videos to YouTube after the fact. So I hope you'll have the opportunity to make these pancakes at home and try out a few of our other recipes. Thank you for joining me today, and if you have any questions, let us know. See you next time.